Everybody, I'm going to go ahead and call the regular meeting of the DeKalb City Council of January 23rd, 2023 to order. Roll call, please.
Morris.
Here.
Larson.
Here.
Smith.
Here.
Perkins.
Here.
McAdams.
Here.
Verbic.
Here.
Favor.
Here.
Mayor Barnes.
Here.
8 present.
All right, and then without further ado, I'll call our specialist in the Pledge of Allegiance, Mr. Shadow Gentry, Mr. Hy-Vee, to lead us in the pledge, please, Shadow. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thanks, Shadow. All right, then moving on to agenda item C, approval of the agenda. I will take a motion to approve the agenda as is.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Alderman Favor, seconded, I think, by Alderman Perkins. Roll call, questions or comments? Roll call, please.
Morris.
Yes.
Larson.
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Perkins.
Yes.
McAdams.
Yes.
Verbic.
Yes.
Favor.
Yes.
Mayor Barnes.
Yes.
8 aye.
The agenda has been approved. Moving on to number D, presentations. We have none. And then E, public participation. I have a Philip Weaver that would like to come. If you can come up to the podium, Philip, that'd be fantastic. And as a reminder, you have 3 minutes, sir.
Thank you for having me here tonight. So I wanted to just had a concern. I live in Sycamore now, and the reason why I live in Sycamore is because of some of the violence and drug issues that's going on in the city. I used to live on Woodley Avenue, and I've seen plenty of drug transactions, prostitution, and people being drugged down the street by cops. I see this new agenda that's being brought up about bringing a train. Have we considered the fact that amount of drugs that will be brought into the city on this train? And then the other issue is what are you going to do to help the people that want to get off the drugs, right? There's no men's halfway houses here or rehabs. We have one for women, but that's not enough. There's so many citizens that want to get off these drugs. And they have one Medicaid bed at Rosecrans, and that's it. What is the city going to do? How can we help these people? I'm seeing my friends die, but what makes it even more egregious is my friends' kids are dying now. And we as a city have kind of turned our back to it. We're not doing anything to help. We're not. This has been going on for many years, many years. And we've had one halfway house just for women. What about the men? You know, we get forgotten. And, you know, I don't have a drug addiction, but I've seen many of my friends that have. And it's time for us to speak up for them and help them. I don't understand how to move forward without the city's help. I've spoken to a couple of my former city aldermen, and I spoke with Ms. Morris here, and they have some good ideas. But this shouldn't be a Republican or Democrat issue. We can work with the county also for funds for this program. We have to do something because people are dying. And now you want to bring a train in? I don't know. I think that's kind of dangerous. I think that the problem that we have right now is only going to get worse with the train. And also, bringing a train in could cause more issues within the city. And so I don't know. I just wanted to say that I'm not a great speaker. I just think that this is something that needs to be addressed, and I will be willing to help out any way that I possibly can to see that this gets some traction. That's about it.
Thank you, Philip. Really appreciate it. And Philip, there is no reason to stay the entire meeting. We always understand when people want to come out, comment. You're more than welcome to leave. We don't see that as being rude at all because sometimes these meetings last 3 hours and it's a lot of administration stuff. So, all right. Moving on to appointments, agenda item F, we have none, and then approval of the minutes. I will take a motion to approve the minutes of the regular city council meeting of January 9th, 2023.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Alderwoman Larson, seconded by Alderman Favor. Comments or questions? Roll call, please.
Larson,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Perkins,
Yes.
McAdams.
Yes.
Verbic,
Yes.
Favor,
Yes.
Morris,
Yes.
Mayor Barnes.
Yes.
8 aye.
All right, the minutes have been approved. Just give me one sec here, public hearing, all right. We've got a public hearing, let me move on. Oh, sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself, aren't I? Agenda item H, the consent agenda, number 1, accounts payable and payroll through January 23rd, 2023, in the amount of $2,938,656.04. And number 2, Freedom of Information Act FOIA report, December 2022. I take a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Alderman Verbic, seconded by Alderwoman Morris. Any comments or questions? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Smith,
Yes.
Perkins,
Yes.
McAdams.
Yes.
Verbic,
Yes.
Favor,
Yes.
Morris,
Yes.
Larson,
Yes.
Mayor Barnes.
Yes.
8 aye.
All right, the consent agenda has been approved. Agenda item I, public hearings. I'll go ahead and open the public hearing at 6:06 for FY 2023 Community Development Block Grant, CDBG Annual Action Plan. Let's see here. Is there anyone in attendance that wishes to talk about or comment on this public hearing? Hearing none. City Manager Nicholas, do you have any comments or questions?
I'll defer to later in the agenda when
Agenda?
we take
Perfect.
this up. Thank you.
Council? We will be talking about this later. All right. Hearing none, I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing at 6:06 PM. All right, moving on to agenda item J, considerations. Number 1, consideration of the city transit fares. City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. In May of 2022, the council wanted to hear from our transit staff and the city manager regarding the possibility of reinstituting transit fares. It had been almost 2 years at that point since fares had been imposed, and they had been suspended, as you recall, because of the economic constraints that were caused by the pandemic that we all lived through, and some people struggled through mightily. So at that meeting, the council decided to reinstitute the fares from the 2019 period, and here we are with the report as we promised after more or less closing the books on 2022 as to where we are currently and what we recommend for the future. So the fares that were reinstituted generated in 6 months' time about what they generated in a year back in 2019. So I'm just going to cut to the quick here. We're not recommending any increase in the fares. We like to continue the fare level as it is. We feel it's adequate. It's never going to be a major part of our revenue in the transit system that we have, but it does provide some funds that can be used for consultancies for the occasional vehicle or something like that. It's not going to buy a bus for us, but we feel it's still important. It's the best deal around, as you've seen in the past. I didn't recapitulate all of the comparable fares from other cities, but it's 50 cents if you're senior, and if you're a student, you've already paid for the service for your fees to the university, so you don't pay each time you get on and get off, as long as you're an active student. So it's a good deal. And I'll just stop there. I think unless the council is eager to increase the fares at this point, we would prefer not to touch them.
So any comments or questions, council, about not raising the fares? Yes, Alderman Smith.
I'll just bring it up. Bill, and Mr. Nurenkirchen and I have obviously, in our history, feel that people need to understand that fare increase will decrease our grant funds. So we are actually losing money by increasing fares too much. So I think it's over 1 to 1, and we have plenty of grant money. So I think we should really take advantage of the grant money versus extending our fares on our citizens.
We
So-
agree. And it may come to a point where the grant money, some years from now probably, where the grant money may not be as ample, and then the fares make a lot of sense to make up for a shortfall in operating, but that's not the case today.
Correct. That's great. Thank you.
Any other comments? Alderman Favor.
I was just, what is the current fare for the Elburn buses to, from the student center to Elburn?
Good evening, council. Currently, it's $4 for students, $8 for general public. That is the fare structure that was set back in 2019. Now, it's been brought to my attention over the last few days that, that might be something we'll want to look at if we are going to make this a regular commuter service. But I think my initial thought was see what the discussion was tonight on and that this will predicate what we do next.
That's one of the reasons I brought it up as well, is because I had heard that it's, obviously our local fare is quite inexpensive. And it potentially might entice more ridership if we had lower fare on that commuter.
Yeah, one thing we're going to have coming down the pike here in a few months is looking at a monthly pass program, and that might be something where then we can, again, the decision of the council tonight was going to predict what we were going to do with that, but that would be something where, hey, you do a monthly pass and then we'll get a different rate.
And then just the other question was the restriction on these funds, because it looks like we have about $11.3 million. Is it solely operation? Could we pilot? I know we've talked about an electric bus or a hybrid bus or something like that. I mean,
Yeah, the majority of it is designed for operational assistance. However, with the federal awards, we can use up to 80%. So it gets a little complicated, but for operating assistance, you've got a split of 50-50 between operating and local funds, although we further complicate it where there's state funds that come into play. So really what we're doing is we're matching 35% of federal and NIU funds to 65% of state. However, with federal, we cannot use any of our state operating assistance for capital funding. So what we can do with federal funding is we can apply that towards capital. There's an 80%, it's an 80-20 split. In other words, the federal grant would apply 80% of it, 20% would have to be come up with locally. So that's something we can do going forward. There's also a call for projects, and I believe March or April, that will be coming out for the FTA's bus grant program, essentially, and they're really pushing electric buses. So that's our next round on that.
okay, excellent, thank you.
Anything else?
Anything, council? All right, hearing
take my
none.
seat.
Thanks,
Thank
Mike. We'll move on to agenda item 2, consideration of a request for proposals for the redevelopment of city property in the Annie Glidden North neighborhood. City manager.
Thank you, Mayor. There's some considerable background here. I'm
You're
not going
recusing
to
yourself?
capitulate all of that.
I
but-
apologize, I need to recuse myself.
What's that? Oh.
For the RFP?
Just want to make sure I've got the right one, sorry.
No, this is just the L on Blackhawk and Hillcrest that we're talking about, the RFP that we're going to release for
Got-
people to be able to bid on.
Gotcha, my mistake, thank you.
No worries.
Sorry.
Yep.
I can go, and then you can carry it. We have discussed in this room over a couple of years the process by which we have assembled lots in the Annie Glidden North neighborhood. There are people here tonight who've been allies and colleagues in those discussions, representing the Opportunity Cal Board and persons just who have property or have had businesses in the area. I think we've gotten to a point, this city manager's opinion, that we could test what market interest there may be in the redevelopment of this area. We've invested a lot of money to get to this point. I'm not suggesting that we be in haste to decide what might be the best project. I think we go out for a better than ample time. Usually that's 30 days. We go out for 45 days or longer. That's your pleasure. To allow for as much reaction as possible, spread a wide net in terms of the notice of our interest, and then see what happens. And local, regional, national, we'll see what kind of interest there is. And we'll bring that back to you, and then we'll have good conversation, and that will be open to the public, and everybody will get a chance to weigh in. So that's where we are right now. This RFP has been vetted, discussed at some length around the town, I guess you'd say, and this isn't a new draft from what the council saw in a rougher form months ago. I think it's adequate in that it invites not only people to say what they think they would do, but also they could take this down in phases. That will be up to the council as to what you like and don't like, but it could be all at once, or it could be over time. I thought we'd leave the window open as much as we can for various approaches. So I wanted your opinion, and if you like what is here generally, then we'll go out this week, that we'll get out with the general notices, and it will be underway.
Questions, council? So to be clear, everything's on the table. We'll accept any proposal, really. But what it's going to be, it's going to come down to us. I mean, we have spent millions and millions of dollars on this L. The impact of whatever development happens there can be absolutely significant on the community in the Annie-Glidden North. So me personally, it's going to have to be the right solution to fit not just Annie-Glidden North, but the entire DeKalb. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what proposals come forward and potentially moving forward on a transaction on that particular piece of property. But also, as City Manager Nicholas stated, we don't have to accept anything either. So it'll be up to us when the proposals come in to really look at what we feel is going to be the right direction that we want to take with that particular parcel. All right, yes, Alderman Verbeek.
But I really appreciate how this was written. It really addressed the listening sessions that we participated in and was very reflective of what we have been asked to seek out. So thank you.
Thank you. I thought it was important to let the world know, whoever's going to be looking at this, that there's much community interest in this. This isn't just a parcel we decided to sell.
No.
This is something that
Strategic.
the community, yes, very, very much is.
Yep. Any other comments or questions? Awesome. All right, moving on to agenda item K. I guess there was heads nodding all around, City Manager.
Yeah.
All right, agenda item K, resolutions. Number 1, Resolution 2023-010, approving the Community Development Block Grant Annual Action Plan, 1-year use of funds for program year 30, April 1st, 2023 through March 31st, 2024. Can I have a motion to bring it to the floor?
So moved.
Second?
Moved by Alderwoman Morris, seconded by, was that you, McAdams?
Yep.
Alderman McAdams. City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. I deferred comment earlier, but I should, at the outset, mention that the reason we have a public hearing, even though nobody spoke to it at the public hearing, is that HUD is very insistent that this is a community program based on community needs and how they articulate those needs. So we have hearings, and then as time goes along for various projects, we may have another hearing or another consideration to maximize the opportunities for the public to speak to this. So the chart that was in the public hearing is replicated here in your background on this particular item. There are funds that we are anticipating. We don't know what we will get until March or April, but in order to set out what might be a general budget for the new year, we suggest on the basis of the information we have that it'll be about $400,000, and maybe a little bit more than that, maybe a little bit less, hopefully not less. And we have some carryover funds. The council is familiar with a couple of public improvements that could not get started in the fall of 2022. One of them is the Kimberly upgrades and traffic quieting, I guess you would say, and trying to build more community in the Greek Row area. Another is the Greenbrier Road project, which is now slated. Both of those are slated now for 2023. There is some traffic calming that could be done at the intersection of Black Hawk and Ridge to build some called eyebrows, in other words, push out the sidewalk a little bit in bulbs, like we have in a downtown at 2nd and 3rd, to make it safer. It narrows the crossing for the pedestrians. And that also would have some traffic signage and so forth to slow the traffic through the area. There's a lot of foot traffic there.
And so pedestrians can come out and be able to see all
Yep.
the traffic
Could
around
see
them
both
before they
ways
cross. Yeah.
and make a good choice whether they're going to cross or not, and some protections for that. So that would probably cover a lot of the carryover from 22 to 23. And so that's all I wanted to note at the outset, and I'm happy to answer any questions. And Jennifer Yoakum is in the audience tonight, our new community services coordinator, and just happy to give you more detail if I falter.
Well, I love that we're able to, the holdover that we have, that put some money in reserve for multiple projects this year. But it's my understanding, most likely we will drain this fund balance this year with all the projects we have before us.
Yeah, every year there's some, and sometimes there's carryover only, but like we had some just weather issues at the end of the year.
Yeah.
We're just running out of seasonal weather. But usually there's a little carryover. This is larger just because we were ambitious in trying to spend some money particularly in the Greek Row area, where there are a lot of qualified census tracts that would justify it.
I think it'll make a significant impact in that area. Comments or questions, Council? Yes, Alderwoman Morris.
How often are we using the owner-occupied housing rehab program? I wonder, are we advertising it enough, and how often is it getting used?
I can let Jennifer speak to that, but I can tell you, working with Joanne Rouse for a lot of years, that was well advertised. It's just that it used to be, maybe 10 or 15 years ago, more people were just staying pat in their houses. They were upgrading the insulation. They were doing rehab and replacing windows in older homes and doors to not only deal with heat loss, but also, to dress up the house, increase its value. And then we went through a spate where everybody was thinking, well, some new housing or moving to an apartment, a newer apartment and so forth. We beat the drum for this. As you can see, it doesn't look like a lot, in this case, 20, from 60 down to 20,000, but that was about the experience we had last year. So we can still juggle that. We have to come back to you, and then when we have an amendment, we also have to do another public hearing. But we can do that if the experience tells us otherwise. There are other ways that we help with that. There's IHEAP.
IHEAP, or LIHEAP?
Well, I was going to say, there's a LIHEAP and IHEAP. I think it's IHEAP. Anyway, so we work with other agencies too that have some federal money, not our federal money, but other federal money.
So this works for insulation?
Yes.
Okay. I know someone who needs that.
Yeah, roofs oftentimes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any other comments or questions? Hearing none, then roll call.
Perkins,
Yes.
McAdams.
Yes.
Verbic,
Yes.
Favor,
Yes.
Morris,
Yes.
Larson,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Mayor Barnes.
Yes.
8 aye.
Resolution 2023-010 passes. Agenda item number 2, Resolution 2023-011, authorizing human services funding agreements in the amount of $200,000 with local social service agencies beginning January 1st, 2023 through December 31st, 2023. Can I have a motion to bring it to the floor?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Alderman Perkins, seconded by Alderwoman Morris. City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. Here, again, we do have money, and this comes from local tax dollars and out of our general fund, that can help people who have emergency needs and are dealing with issues with their homes, such as lack of heat and so forth as well. So we have in our budget that was approved late last fall, $200,000 toward this program. In the last month and a half or so, we have been receiving the responses to our invitation from local social service agencies. Many of them have received our human service program fundings over many years, and there are a couple new this year, and there were a couple new last year as well. We try to spread the net so that people who are maybe have not been in the field for a long time have an opportunity to compete for these funds. So the priorities are important. They're listed on the top of page 8 in your background. And for people who are just watching, they're in order of precedence. So providers of services, these would be the agencies that could contend for these monies, that meet basic emergency needs such as food, clothing, and shelter. So that was defined by the council decades ago, and it's still in the priority list. And also where there's an opportunity to prevent the people having to reach that point where they're desperate for food, clothing, and shelter, and then ultimately those services that provide contribute to the quality of life of persons whose basic needs are already met, but could be still dancing on the edge. And then sometimes that has to do with recreation. Adventure Works, for instance, is a local agency that provides that kind of opportunity for people who are looking through recreation to find self-confidence, trust, and so forth. So the list was pretty long this year, as it typically is. Those agencies, that have received funding in the past are kept to a pretty rigorous reporting system. They have to report on the number of persons served, and you see the breakdown of what we're looking for by way of information. On page 9, the whole page lays out in a very nice way, thanks to Jennifer, the funding that was received, if any, last year, and the funding that's requested for this year, and what's been recommended. So the recommendations come from a committee. It's not the city manager that makes this recommendation or Jennifer Yoakum. It's a review committee that looks at the past contributions made by our local social service agencies. It includes Dan Olson, our planning director, our deputy chief, Jason Leverton. These are city employees who deal oftentimes in various ways with people who get the money. Building inspector, our planning technician, our fire prevention officer, Tom Conley, also Jennifer Yoakum. So we stay in touch with the agencies that receive the money, as I said, and the reports are available at your pleasure from year to year. So we recommend the list that's on page 9 of your background. There were 2 new awards that are recommended to you tonight. One to Opportunity Calb in the amount of $5,000, and one to the Youth Pride Foundation in the amount of $2,900. These are not huge grants, but they have been sustaining, particularly of some new programming that comes on from year to year, even by the more established agencies.
Council, comments, questions? So looking over this list, since I'm hearing no comments or questions yet at least, like Adventure Works, what a great program working with our children and youth, Barb City Manor Seniors, Barb City Food Mart, which affects all families, providing food, CASA, children, Four Seasons Children, Community Gardens, Everybody, Elder Care Services, Family Service Agency, Hope Haven, which is helping provide for our homeless, YMCA, which is their Camp Power program, which works in University Village with at-risk children, which is phenomenal. RAMP, working with the disabled, Safe Passage, Volunteer Action Center, Youth Pride Center. I just want to call out for council that, a lot of times sitting up here, people come before council and make a lot of comments about us, and we don't take into consideration X, Y, or Z. We saw that at our last council meeting, and I just want to say, I think it's awesome working with you all on being able to provide things like this, and this is just one portion of what we do for the overall city. And I know we can get hit pretty hard at times by comments, but let's not forget all the great things that we do for so many different organizations and the funding that we provide them. And that is abundantly apparent right here in this particular agenda item. Any other comments or questions? Sweet. Roll call, please.
McAdams.
Yes.
Verbic.
Yes.
Favor.
Yes.
Morris,
Yes.
Larson,
Yes.
Smith,
He recused himself. He's out.
recused.
Perkins,
Yes.
Mayor Barnes,
Yes.
7 aye.
Resolution 2023-00, passes. Number 3, Resolution 2023-012, amending the City of DeKalb purchasing manual by adding a procurement card policy. Can I have a motion to bring it to the floor?
Second?
Moved by Alderman Favor, seconded by Alderwoman Larson. City Manager, I've been waiting for this one all week long.
Yeah, I bet, yeah.
No
The,
no offense, Finance Director Dittman.
Yeah, so the budget that you approved last fall had our financial policies in it, and this is one we've been working on, and I thank Carrie Dittman, our finance director, for polishing it off here in January. It addresses, I think, the obvious, is that we're using credit cards a lot more than we are cash, and we don't like the idea of city employees walking around with cash, buying stuff. There's not a lot of oversight that can be done when that's happening. So we're fine with the credit cards, but we have to have a rigorous system which all department heads and directors and employees will follow. And that's what's spelled out in detail to help us track our spending, particularly when it comes to recurring needs that we buy local to meet, run into, I won't say the stores and around here, whether it's a home improvement store or a hardware store or whatever. Also, we have some house accounts at these, so a person can walk in, don't actually have to, but they have to identify themselves and have to show that they're a city employee, and the process that's laid out in your background in the actual policy itself. So this makes perfect sense to us, and we hope it will to you as well.
Council, questions, comments? Sometimes I get a little too informal. I do really appreciate we're dotting i's and crossing t's, Finance Director Dittman. So this is awesome that we're doing that and putting this policy in place as times change. So it is a serious matter. Hearing no other comments or questions, roll call, please.
Verbic,
Yes.
Favor,
Yes.
Morris,
Yes.
Larson,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Perkins,
Yes.
McAdams,
Yes.
Mayor Barnes,
Yes.
8 aye.
Resolution 2023-012 passes. Moving on to number 4, Resolution 2023-013, authorizing the sale of lots 8, 9, and 10 of Block 16 in the original town, now city, of DeKalb to Pappas Development, LLC. Can I have a motion to bring it to the floor?
So moved.
Second?
Moved by Alderman McAdams, seconded by Alderman Favor. City Manager.
Hey, Mayor, at the last regular
ahead,
meeting,
Carol.
the council voted 5-2 to direct me to prepare the documents necessary for the transfer of the city's ownership of these particular lots to Pappas Development. That's exactly what I've done. In their background tonight, there's a draft real estate contract that goes with the resolution that would formalize the commitment that you directed me to execute or to prepare for your execution tonight. I think the documents are self-evident. Nothing has changed in terms of the original proposal by Pappas Development, which was to purchase both of the properties for $100,000, no contingencies, no financial assistance from the city. The intent is to preserve the one-story building at 217 South 4th to raise and redevelop the parcel where I keep saying, maybe because I have that long history here, but the old post office, and some people had called me since the last meeting and said, well, the post office is still there, you're not tearing that down. No, not that one. There was another one before that, and there was another
And
one
one
before
before
that.
that.
Yeah.
You got a
But
history.
this is the one at 4th and Grove. So I will say in this regard, we had a lot of people concerned, particularly those who have been regulars at our senior center, about what will happen to them. And I'm very pleased to say, well, I can't give you all the details, but at the next meeting, I hopefully will be able to expound on this, that there is, I believe it's fair to say that there's a handshake understanding between the Family Service Agency and a local facility and entity that would be a real improvement in terms of the environs where seniors would be able to recreate as they wish. Plus the added benefit of lots of parking and outdoor space that can be used. We just had an old parking lot before that nobody really wanted to sit on or run around in, and we'll have now some nice quiet space, exterior space. So I hope to be able to deliver the rest of the news to you in 2 weeks.
Council, questions or comments? Appreciate your work. I know you jumped on it even that night to figure out what next steps could be for the senior center. So appreciate your hard work, Bill, on that, and I'm looking forward to hopefully a wonderful announcement next council meeting on that. All right, roll call, please.
Favor?
Yes.
Larson?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
Perkins?
Yes.
McAdams?
Yes.
Verbic?
Yes.
6-0.
Oh, I can't vote on that? Oh, because it's in the TIF? Oh, okay. Then that'll lead us to, so Resolution 2023-013 passes. Moving on to agenda item 5, Resolution 2023-014, supporting tax increment financing and opposing SB 2298. Can I participate in that discussion? Because we're forming an opinion. I
I
can,
would say
awesome,
yes.
all right. I take a motion to bring it to the floor.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Alderman Smith, seconded by Alderwoman Larson. Yes, Mr. Pappas, feel free to mosey on. I'm really looking forward to seeing what that corner ends up developing into. I have no idea, no doubt you're going to crush it, so.
Just like yours downtown.
I love it. I love it. All right, city manager.
This comes to us from the Illinois Municipal League, which represents, I believe, every one of our state's municipalities, which includes cities, towns, and villages in the state of Illinois. It's a very general statement. I suppose if a community has had a TIF district and they didn't like it and they no longer do, then they may not be along with us considering this particular resolution. But sometimes the state legislature deals with bills that are sweeping and maybe too sweeping in terms of taking away tools that might be useful to locales like ours. We have had our own troubles with tax increment financing, not doing it right. When I say not doing it right, I have in mind particularly bringing in those other taxing bodies, for instance, who are contributing to the development fund that TIF is. The tax increment funds can be used for private redevelopment and should be. That was the heart of the program when Illinois' legislature first embraced it and around the country. So I think we've righted those wrongs. We have to be ever vigilant, and so do the other taxing bodies, but I think we have a good, solid program that could be a model around the state, but not every community can say that. So I feel in your behalf that it's important for us to say, just generally, this can be a helpful tool. And if you read the resolution language, that's about all it says. But if there was a bill in particular last general session, and it basically would have constricted the opportunities provided by the current tax increment financing legislation so drastically that I think it would not be a tool that many would want to use or could use to their benefit. So usually I don't bring these things normally to you, but the IML felt very strongly that we should at least just send a word that we're one of those communities that sees this when properly used and with lots of buy-in from our peers and the other taxing bodies, that it can be very beneficial. That's what it says.
Council, questions, comments? Yes, Alderman Smith.
Bill, is the JRB on board on this, I would take it?
Oh, this just came, I mean, the JRB would be, because it just says that this
I would
is
assume they would be,
useful.
I guess,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Thank you.
Any others? Yeah, Alderwoman Morris.
I guess I'll just note that when I first came on council, like 4 years ago, this was a huge topic and, a big issue of consternation around the city. And I agree with the city manager that we've done a great job to improve where things are with our TIF districts. And I think that there's no harm in supporting this.
Awesome. Any others?
Thank you. I will say, I think it's a perfect example, and government doesn't always happen. When you listen, you learn a lot, and we listen to our peers in the other taxing bodies, and we listen to their concerns, and then we proceeded that way, and I think that made all the difference in the world. So, and I think that's the heart of what's being asked for here.
And thank you for coming into your role and riding that ship. I know you drove a lot of that, so thank you for doing that. All right, roll call, please.
Morris,
Yes.
Larson,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Perkins,
Yes.
McAdams.
Yes.
Verbic,
Yes.
Favor,
Yes.
Mayor Barnes.
Yes.
8 ayes.
Resolution 2023-014 passes. Number 6, Resolution 2023-015, authorizing the purchase of 4 Lucas 3 chest compression systems from Stryker Medical for the DeKalb Fire Department in an amount not to exceed $71,566.12. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Alderman Perkins, seconded by Alderman McAdams. City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm happy to say that we're in a position to take advantage of this because of the GEMT program, which the council embraced a couple of years ago, and which we and our partners in Local 1236 have been able to continue to benefit from. This is a very valuable tool, and it will help us when paramedics who are maybe in an accident scene or maybe multiple or even if there's just one victim, but multiple things should be happening for the benefit and for the health of the victims. Obviously, cardiac treatments such as this are life-saving, but there may be other things that need to be done. You got a machine now that can reliably do what people would have, one paramedic might have to do, or maybe 2 spelling each other would have to do, and wouldn't be able to start IVs in the middle of the night in a rainstorm and all those things. So we have not been able to afford it. We're able to afford it now. It's in the budget, in the GEMT budget. We have gone to bid. As you can see, this is something that's fairly esoteric. We feel we got a good price. Recommend your approval.
Council, questions or comments? Alderman Smith.
Bill, do we have any in service, Chief?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we have 3.
Oh,
And
that's not
they have
enough.
started to break down. They're 6 to 8 years
Yeah.
old.
Okay, that's what I thought. Okay, thank you, yeah. It's a good purchase.
Any other comments or questions? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Larson,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Perkins,
Yes.
McAdams.
Yes.
Verbic,
Yes.
Favor,
Yes.
Morris,
Yes.
Mayor Barnes.
Yes.
8 ayes.
Resolution 2023-015 passes. Moving on to number 7, Resolution 2023-016, authorizing the purchase and equipping of one 2023 Ford Transit cargo van for the DeKalb Police Department based on the Illinois Central Management Services contract pricing in an amount not to exceed $58,490. Can I have a motion to bring it to the floor?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Alderman Favor, seconded by Alderman McAdams. City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. If someone is looking for a 20-year-old van that they could park in their driveway but not drive, we've got the perfect candidate. Our evidence van now is, to say it's on its last lap is an understatement. It's been rode hard, and there's a phrase there, I'm not going to succumb to it, but it's certainly in need of replacement. The process by which we go about replacing vehicles is pretty rigorous, and it was followed here. We try to take advantage of what would be the state purchasing price or better for us, and that was done here by the police department. This was not a van that was on that short list that is to be funded by the Fund 420 this year. So one vehicle comes off, this replacement is on, we have X vehicles, that's what we have the money to do. So we're not adding another vehicle to be replaced, it's 7 and 7. So this is on your plate tonight, and we recommend strongly that we proceed.
Council? Questions, comments? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Smith,
Yes.
Perkins,
Yes.
McAdams.
Yes.
Verbic,
Yes.
Favor,
Yes.
Morris,
Yes.
Larson,
yes,
Mayor Barnes.
Yes.
8 aye.
Resolution 2023-016 passes. Number 8, Resolution 2023-017, authorizing agreements for aviation and storage tank liability insurance coverage effective January 1st, 2023 through January 1st, 2024, in the amount of $38,377. Can I have a motion to bring it to the floor?
So moved.
second,
Moved by Alderman Smith, seconded by Alderwoman Larson. City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. Back in December, the council approved a one-year contract with our local broker, Crum Halstead, for the workers' comp and property casualty packages. And at that time, it was noted to the council that there were a couple of minor riders that weren't ready yet through the broker. One of those was the aviation policy, and the other is the storage tank liability policy. And that, we have a fuel depot, and that basically is the heart of what's being covered for that. And the pricing that is provided to us by our local broker is presented to you tonight. The total for both of those policies is $38,377. We recommend your approval.
Council. Questions, comments? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Perkins,
Yes.
McAdams.
Yes.
Verbic,
Yes.
Favor,
Yes.
Morris,
Yes.
Larson,
yes,
Smith,
Yes.
Mayor Barnes.
Yes.
8 aye.
Resolution 2023-017 passes. Moving on to Agenda Item L, ordinances second reading, we have none. Agenda Item M, ordinances first reading. Number 1, Ordinance 2023-009, amending Chapter 3, City Administration, Section 20, Board of Fire and Police Commissioners, to allow Board of Fire and Police Commission members to reside within 1 mile of the city's corporate limits. Can I have a motion to bring it to the floor?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Alderman Verbic, seconded by Alderman Favor. City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. We might have said 1.5 miles. A mile and a half is our planning jurisdiction. There are many people who live in what, have a DeKalb mailing address. They live surrounded by people who have been in an incorporated part of our community for a long, long time. And sometimes we have people who, houses have changed hands, and they just assume they're in the city. Everybody talks about the city. The people next door talk about the city. These are people that work in our town, shop in our town, rub shoulders with teachers and city managers and all the rest of that, and they are as much a part of our community and as interested as any. But without something like this, they're not going to be able to serve. Well, we're not saying that people should be driving 20 miles away where they don't have the feel of the community. So it just seems to make sense to us. We cut it to 1 mile just to be a little more conservative. We have places in our town, as I was describing earlier. So we recommend this change. It makes sense to us.
Comments or questions, Council? Yes, Alderwoman Morris.
So I see this note where it says they also may reside in territory which could be annexed to
Yeah.
into the city in the future, so like suburban apartments area, but that's obviously within the mile.
That'd be within 1 mile. There are places off of North First Street where that would apply. There are places off of Oakland Drive where
Oakland,
that would apply.
Dresser.
Greenwood Acres Drive.
Yep. There's actually quite a few places in the city of DeKalb
There
that we
are.
completely surround the properties. They take advantage of all the benefits of the
Dresser
city of
Road.
DeKalb, yet they don't pay taxes to the city of DeKalb. I think that would be an interesting topic to bring before council as a consideration sometime to discuss what annexation of those properties would actually look like.
It's the water infrastructure.
Good idea.
That's the problem.
So yes,
It would be
and I
interesting.
mean, this is a dialogue that goes back and forth. And as early as today, Alderman Perkins and myself were in a whole conversation with the city manager about just this. But I do think it is absolutely unfair that there are a lot of properties that have, and some of them have water and sewer already. They're just escaping the city's and the library's property tax. And I think at some point, if you're surrounded by the city of DeKalb, you should be the city of DeKalb. So that'll be a conversation we will have, not today, not next meeting, but it will come up at some point in the future, I'm sure. Can you see the city manager like, But yeah, this is what this is about, is be able to cover, because there are citizens there that would be of great benefit to our commissions, including this one, that technically aren't in the city of DeKalb. So this allows us to be able to recruit from them as well, to be able to serve on our commissions. That cover it, city manager?
It does.
Awesome.
It does. It'll be a happy conversation, I'm
Yeah.
sure.
Any other comments or questions? Awesome. Roll call, please.
McAdams,
Yes.
Verbic,
Yes.
Favor,
Yes.
Morris,
Yes.
Larson,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Perkins,
Yes.
Mayor Barnes,
Yes.
8 aye.
Ordinance 2023-009 passes on first reading. I would take a motion to waive second reading.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Alderman Perkins, seconded by Alderwoman Morris. Questions or comments on that? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Verbic,
Yes.
Favor,
Yes.
Morris,
Yes.
Larson,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Perkins,
Yes.
McAdams.
Yes.
Mayor Barnes.
Yes.
8 aye.
Second reading has been waived for ordinance 2023-009. All right, moving on to agenda item N, reports and communication. Who'd like to kick us off? Alderman Smith.
No report.
Alderwoman Morris.
No report.
Alderwoman Larson.
No report.
Alderman Perkins.
So over the last couple of weeks, as many probably know, there was a couple of objections were brought forth over one of the alder people here. So I was fortunate enough to sit in on the hearings for that. 6 hours of hearings that were conducted
6 hours.
that basically boiled down to were the petitions fastened correctly. Now, what I would like to do is compliment Alderman Favor, Mayor, City Attorney, our invisible City Clerk tonight, because y'all did a great job. You were very deliberative, very thorough, very respectful. Very proud of how you conducted yourself. Great job.
Thank you, appreciate it. Alderman Verbeck.
No report?
Alderman Favor.
So on Friday, I had the honor of, with the city manager and with the mayor, receiving a very large check from the federal
Oh, yeah,
government,
that's right.
from Representative Underwood. It was for $1.18 million for the airport, so that was a pleasure to do that. And then I did serve on the electoral board later that afternoon, but it was the first time I've ever had to do that, and it was good to see the process work through, and it did work through well. So.
You are so polite. Alderman McAdams.
I just want to give a shout out to the DeKalb Police Department. I'm not going to say we knew you were going to catch the guy from the Theirs and Fun store robbery, but we knew you were going to catch the guy, and you did, and we appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Sir, if I could expound just a second.
Sure thing.
I do want to say that the officers put a lot of hard work into that. I looked in my commander's eyes today, and he couldn't keep his eyes open because he was extremely tired. So they put a lot of hard work in, and I think one of the things I always, and I believe in this, is that the swiftness of arrest is a deterrent. And when you see it happen as quickly as this occurred, and this is not the only arrest we have on our plate. We actually have a couple of the arrests, other arrests that'll be coming before the end of the week that were also done in a swift manner. And I think that is a deterrent, and we will continue to do that. So, but thank you for, and I'll pass on everything you just said to the team. Thank you.
For myself, just a comment on the election board hearing as well. I reached out immediately to the IML to find out if they've ever pushed this particular agenda item as far as modifying the state statute on how ballot petitions can be submitted, because it is quite simply a partisan way of trying to get people removed off the ballot. It was ludicrous that we had to spend 6 hours in session let alone the city attorney, and the amount of money this costs and the amount of energy that took us away from being able to conduct city business and dedicate to the city is ridiculous. I will be personally reaching out to our state representatives and our state senators that this needs to be addressed. It's BS, it's a waste of time, and I really hope our state legislature can do something to change this, because in my opinion, if you want to run and you go out and you get signatures of people that are valid, registered voters that want you on the ballot, you should be on the ballot. It shouldn't come down to, is a clipboard or a paperclip acceptable? That is just absolutely ridiculous, and we saw that in the proceedings that we just had to go through. So I'm going to make it my own personal mission to do what little bit I can to try and nudge them in that particular direction. I would encourage all council members, any state rep or state senator that you know, let them know the same thing. Hopefully we won't have to do something like this again, because again, people, it's hard enough to get people to run for office, and if they run for office and this is what they have to deal with, it's ludicrous. That is not what I signed up in the military for. That is not what I serve right now in this capacity for. I want people that want to serve their community to be able to serve their community and not be removed over some of the ridiculous things that are put forth in the state statute. So yeah, thank you, Alderman Favor, for serving on that. That was great, and thank you, Alderman Perkins, for coming in and attending and seeing it firsthand. It was nice to see you out in the audience.
Great to be a part of, great to see it.
And thank you, City Attorney. You were invaluable helping us get through that, especially that first hearing. That was really rough on my part. I had never been a judge and never ran a public hearing like that. So I learned, and it got better the next time. And of course, thank you, Recording Secretary Scott, for your help in that first meeting and your involvement in that. Hopefully, elections going forward, we don't have to deal with crap like that. Excuse my language. That is all I had. All outside of, it was really cool to see Congresswoman Underwood, and yeah, get a check for over $1 million for our airport. She is welcome anytime with big checks like that for any department we have at the city of DeKalb, and we made sure to let her know that as well. How about you, City Manager? You got anything?
No report?
All right. We're going to move on to executive session. I'm going to have to recuse myself, but I think I can kick us off, right?
Yes.
All right, beautiful. All right, so I'd ask for a motion to hold executive session in order to discuss the purchase or lease of real property as provided for in 5 ILCS 120/2C5. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Moved by Alderwoman Morris, seconded by Alderman Favor. Roll call, please.
Favor,
Yes.
Morris,
Yes.
Larson, Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Perkins,
Yes.
McAdams.
Yes.
Verbic,
Yes.
Mayor Barnes,
Yes.
8 ayes.
All right, we are now, the regular session is in recess. Thank you all.